I, 32F, have been dating Lucas, 35M, for about 2 years now, and I'm starting to wonder if our relationship is sustainable given our complicated family situations. We both have kids from previous relationships. I have twin boys, Ethan and Noah, 9M, and Lucas has a daughter, Phoebe, 11F, who has cystic fibrosis. I met Lucas at a local community center where I volunteer on weekends. He was there with Phoebe for a support group meeting, and we struck up a conversation while waiting for our respective events to start. There was an instant connection between us. He was charming, funny, and seemed genuinely interested in what I had to say. We exchanged numbers and started texting regularly. At first, I was hesitant to get involved with someone who had a child with such serious health needs. My own divorce had been finalized just a year earlier, and I was still adjusting to life as a single mom. My ex-husband had left us when the twins were only 3, claiming he wasn't ready for the responsibility of fatherhood. It had been a difficult few years, balancing work, childcare, and trying to heal from the betrayal. But Lucas was different. He was attentive and caring, not just to Phoebe but to my boys as well. On our third date, he surprised me by bringing age-appropriate books for Ethan and Noah, remembering that I had mentioned their love for reading. It was a small gesture, but it meant the world to me. As we started spending more time together, I learned more about Phoebe's condition. Cystic fibrosis affects her lungs and digestive system, requiring daily medications, nebulizer treatments, and a strict dietary regimen. Lucas explained that Phoebe also needed to go to the hospital for a week every month for intensive treatment. Despite these challenges, Phoebe was a bright, cheerful girl who seemed to take her condition in stride. For the first few months, everything seemed great. Lucas was a welcome presence in our lives, and my boys really liked him. He would come over for dinner, help the boys with their homework, and even started teaching them how to play chess. It felt like we were becoming a real family. But as time went on, I started to notice how much Phoebe's condition affected our ability to do things together. Simple outings that I used to take for granted with my boys became complicated logistical challenges. A trip to the park had to be carefully timed around Phoebe's medication schedule. Movie nights were often interrupted by nebulizer treatments. Even dinner plans had to be flexible to accommodate Phoebe's dietary needs. Don't get me wrong, I understood that Phoebe's health was important. But I started to feel like my kids were always getting the short end of the stick. The boys, who had already been through so much with their father leaving, were now constantly having to adjust their expectations and plans. For example, last summer, we tried to plan a trip to a nearby water park. The boys had been looking forward to it for months, saving their allowance to buy souvenirs and talking nonstop about which slides they wanted to try. But 2 days before we were supposed to go, Phoebe caught a cold. Lucas said we had to cancel because the risk of infection was too high for Phoebe. The boys were devastated. I tried to explain the situation to them, but I could see the disappointment in their eyes. This wasn't an isolated incident. It happened multiple times with different events: a baseball game we had to leave early because Phoebe was tired, a camping trip that got canceled due to concerns about the weather affecting Phoebe's breathing, even a simple trip to the ice cream parlor that turned into a stressful ordeal because they didn't have options that fit Phoebe's dietary restrictions. Lucas always says we need to be understanding of Phoebe's needs, but I'm starting to feel like he's not considering my kids' needs at all. They're young and active, and they want to do things that kids their age normally do. But every time we try to plan something, it either gets canceled or has to be cut short because of Phoebe. I've tried talking to Lucas about this, but he gets defensive. He says I'm being insensitive to Phoebe's condition, and that I knew what I was getting into when we started dating. But did I really? I knew Phoebe had health issues, but I don't think I fully understood how it would impact every aspect of our lives. The situation came to a head last week. The boys have been begging to go to a new theme park that opened up about 2 hours away. They've been saving their allowance for months, and it's all they talk about. I told Lucas that I'm taking the boys there next weekend, with or without him and Phoebe. He got upset and said I was being selfish and exclusionary. But I feel like this might be the only way my kids get to have some normal experiences. Am I wrong for wanting to do this? I love Lucas, and I care about Phoebe, but I'm starting to wonder if this relationship is fair to my kids. How can I balance everyone's needs without anyone feeling left out or resentful? I can't help but think back to when I was first dating Lucas, how optimistic I was about our future together. Now, I'm not so sure. I want to make this work, but I also need to protect my children's happiness. They've already lost so much with their father leaving. I don't want them to feel like they're always second best in our new family dynamic. Part of me wonders if I'm being selfish. After all, Phoebe didn't choose to have cystic fibrosis. But then I look at my boys, and I see how much they've had to give up already. They're good kids, they rarely complain and they've been so patient. But I can see the toll it's taking on them. I'm at a crossroads, and I don't know what to do. Do I continue trying to make this relationship work, knowing that my kids might have to sacrifice their childhood experiences? Or do I walk away from a man I love because our family situations are incompatible? It feels like there's no right answer, and every choice I make will hurt someone I care about. Update 1. It's been about a month since my last post, and a lot has happened. First, I want to thank everyone for their advice and perspectives. It really helped me see things more clearly and gave me the courage to address the issues head-on. After my post, I decided to have a serious talk with Lucas. I invited him over after the kids were in bed and laid everything out on the table. I explained how I felt and how I thought my boys were being affected. At first, he was defensive, his face clouding over as I spoke. But as we talked more, his expression softened, and he started to open up. Lucas admitted that he's been struggling with guilt over Phoebe's condition and how it affects everyone around them. He told me about the day Phoebe was diagnosed, how terrified and helpless he felt, and how he promised himself he would do everything in his power to give her the best life possible. He said he sometimes overcompensates by being overly cautious with her, even when it might not be necessary. As he spoke, I realized how much pressure he's been under. His ex-wife left shortly after Phoebe's diagnosis, unable to cope with the stress of having a chronically ill child. Lucas has been Phoebe's primary caregiver ever since, juggling her medical needs with work and trying to give her a normal childhood. It made me see his overprotectiveness in a new light. We talked for hours that night, really opening up about our fears and frustrations. By the end, we agreed to try and find a middle ground. For the theme park trip, we came up with a plan. I would take my boys early in the morning, and Lucas would bring Phoebe later in the afternoon after her treatments. This way, my boys could enjoy the more intense rides, and we could all meet up later for dinner and the evening shows. The day of the trip came, and it started off great. The boys were so excited, bouncing in their seats the whole drive there. We arrived right as the park opened, and the boys dragged me from ride to ride, their faces lit up with joy. It was amazing to see them so carefree and happy. Around 3 p.m., Lucas texted to say they were on their way. But an hour later, he called with bad news. Phoebe had started running a fever, and they had to turn back. I could hear the disappointment in his voice, and I felt terrible for both him and Phoebe. But I also felt relieved that my boys didn't have to cut their day short. We stayed until the park closed, and the boys couldn't stop talking about how much fun they had on the way home. When we got back, I went to check on Lucas and Phoebe. Phoebe was feeling better, curled up on the couch watching a movie. Lucas thanked me for understanding and said seeing how happy the boys were in the photos I sent made him realize that we need to find more ways to balance everyone's needs. This experience seemed to be a turning point for us. We've started looking into support groups for families dealing with cystic fibrosis. We're hoping to find other families who understand what we're going through and might have advice on how to manage family activities. We've also started being more creative with our family time. Last weekend, we had a staycation day. We set up a tent in the backyard, had a picnic lunch, and spent the afternoon doing crafts and playing board games. It was simple, but everyone could participate, and we all had a great time. Lucas has also been making more of an effort to spend one-on-one time with my boys. He started taking them to the library every other Saturday while I stay home with Phoebe. The boys love this special time with him, and it gives me a chance to bond with Phoebe too. It hasn't all been smooth sailing. We had a setback last week when we had to cancel a planned trip to the zoo because Phoebe wasn't feeling well. But instead of just canceling, we brought the zoo to us. We spent the day watching nature documentaries, making animal crafts, and even had a safari in the backyard, hiding stuffed animals for the kids to find. I feel like we've taken a step in the right direction, but I know we still have a long way to go. There are still times when I feel frustrated or when the boys express disappointment over canceled plans. But we're communicating better now, and that makes a big difference. I'm cautiously optimistic about our future, but I'm also aware that there might be more challenges ahead. Phoebe's condition isn't going to go away, and there will always be times when her needs have to come first. But I feel like Lucas and I are now on the same page about trying to meet everyone's needs as best we can. As I write this, I can hear Lucas in the other room, laughing with all 3 kids as they build an elaborate Lego structure. It's moments like these that make me believe we can make this work. It won't be easy, but I think we're all willing to put in the effort to be a family. Update 2. It's been 3 months since my last update, and I wish I had better news to share. While things seem to be improving for a while, we've hit a major roadblock that's left me questioning everything. After my last update, Lucas and I had been working hard on finding a balance. We started alternating weekends, one for family activities that Phoebe could participate in, and one for more active outings with the boys. It wasn't perfect, but it felt like we were making progress. The boys were happier, and even Phoebe seemed to be thriving with a new routine. However, about a month ago, everything changed. Phoebe caught what seemed like a simple cold at first, but it quickly developed into a severe lung infection. She had to be hospitalized for 3 weeks, and it was touch and go for a while. During this time, Lucas was understandably focused on Phoebe, but it meant that he completely withdrew from me and the boys. At first, I tried to be understanding. I sent supportive texts, offered to bring food to the hospital, and tried to keep the boys occupied so Lucas could focus on Phoebe. But as the days turned into weeks, Lucas became more and more distant. He barely responded to texts, and when he did, it was just to say he couldn't talk. It was hard on the boys. They kept asking why Lucas didn't want to see them anymore, and why they couldn't visit Phoebe in the hospital. I didn't know how to explain it without making them feel less important. I tried to keep things as normal as possible for them, but I could see the worry and confusion in their eyes. When Phoebe was finally released from the hospital, I thought things would get better. I gave Lucas a few days to settle Phoebe back at home, then reached out to see when we could all get together. But instead of the reunion I was hoping for, Lucas called me and said he needed to take a break from our relationship. He said Phoebe's hospitalization made him realize he couldn't fully commit to a relationship right now and that he needed to focus all his energy on her. He talked about how scared he'd been of losing her, and how it made him reevaluate his priorities. I was shocked and hurt. I tried to reason with him, saying we could work it out, that the boys and I could help support them both. But he was adamant. He said it wasn't fair to me or the boys to be in a relationship he couldn't fully participate in. Now, I'm left trying to explain to my boys why they won't be seeing Lucas or Phoebe anymore. They're confused and upset, and honestly, so am I. I understand Lucas's position to some extent. I can't imagine how terrifying it must have been to almost lose Phoebe. But I can't help feeling like we're being discarded because we're not as important as Phoebe. I'm struggling with feelings of resentment, which then make me feel guilty. I know Phoebe's health is important, but I can't help feeling like Lucas used us as a distraction when things were going well, and now that things are tough, he's cutting us out. I'm not sure where to go from here. Part of me wants to fight for the relationship, to show Lucas that we can be a source of support rather than an added stress. But another part wonders if Lucas is right, maybe we're just not compatible given our different family situations. For now, I'm trying to focus on my boys and make sure they're okay. We've gone back to some of our old routines from before Lucas was in our lives, like Friday night movie marathons and Sunday morning pancake breakfasts. The boys seem to be coping okay, but I catch them looking sad sometimes, especially when they see things that remind them of Lucas or Phoebe. As for me, I'm trying to come to terms with the sudden end of a relationship I thought had a future. It's hard not to feel hurt and angry, especially when I think about how much effort I put into making things work. But I also know that dwelling on these feelings won't change anything. I'm not sure what the future holds for us. Part of me hopes that Lucas will realize he made a mistake and come back to us. But another part of me wonders if this is for the best, if maybe this whole situation was just too complicated to work out in the long run. Update 3. It's been 6 months since my last update, and I wanted to share where things stand now. After Lucas ended our relationship, I spent a lot of time focusing on my boys and myself. We went to family counseling to help the boys process their feelings about the breakup, which was really helpful. The counselor gave us tools to communicate better and help the boys understand that the breakup wasn't their fault. During this time, I threw myself into work and the boys' activities. We joined a local sports league, started taking weekend trips to explore nearby towns, and even adopted a dog from the local shelter. Slowly but surely, we started to find our new normal. About 2 months ago, out of the blue, Lucas reached out to me. He asked if we could meet for coffee, saying he wanted to talk. I was hesitant at first, but curiosity got the better of me, and I agreed. When we met, Lucas looked tired but somehow more at peace than I'd seen him in a long time. He started by apologizing for how he handled things. He explained that during Phoebe's hospitalization, he had been overwhelmed with fear and guilt. He realized he had pushed us away out of fear, not because he didn't care. Lucas told me that after Phoebe recovered, he started seeing a therapist to work on his anxiety and guilt surrounding her condition. He also joined a support group for single parents of children with chronic illnesses, which he said has been eye-opening. He's learned coping strategies and ways to balance Phoebe's needs with his own life. He said he'd been doing a lot of thinking and wanted to try again if I was willing. He missed us, not just me, but the boys too. He talked about how much brighter his life had been with us in it, and how he regretted pushing us away. I was cautious but agreed to take things slow. We started with just the two of us spending time together, then gradually included the kids in some activities. It's been challenging, but I can see that Lucas is really trying to find a balance. We've had some frank discussions about expectations and boundaries. I made it clear that while I understand Phoebe's needs are important, my boys' needs matter too. Lucas has been more open to compromises, like arranging for Phoebe to stay with her mom or a trusted caregiver occasionally so he can join us for activities she can't participate in. The boys were initially wary when Lucas came back into our lives, which broke my heart a little. They've been hurt before, first by their dad leaving and then by Lucas's sudden departure. But Lucas has been patient, spending one-on-one time with each of them and slowly rebuilding their trust. It's not perfect, and we still have our struggles. Last week, we had to cancel a planned camping trip because Phoebe caught a cold. But instead of it turning into a major issue, we adapted. We set up tents in the backyard, had a bonfire, with proper precautions for Phoebe's breathing, and spent the night stargazing. It wasn't the trip we planned, but it was still special. The boys are happy to have Lucas back in their lives, and they've been surprisingly understanding about the situation with Phoebe. I think the family counseling really helped them process their feelings and develop empathy. They've even started to take an interest in learning about cystic fibrosis, asking questions and offering to help Phoebe with her treatments when they're together. Phoebe, for her part, seems to be thriving with the expanded family support. She's opened up more, sharing her fears and frustrations about her condition. It's been eye-opening for all of us, and I think it's brought us closer as a family unit. Lucas and I are taking things day by day. We're both more aware of the challenges we face and are working together to address them. We've started having weekly family meetings where everyone, kids included, can voice their concerns and suggestions. It's helped us stay on the same page and address issues before they become major problems. We're also making an effort to create new traditions that work for our blended family. Every Sunday, we have a big family breakfast where Lucas makes his famous pancakes, including special ones that fit Phoebe's dietary needs. We've started a family book club, reading chapters together in the evenings. And we're planning a vacation that takes everyone's needs into account, a beach house rental where we can all relax together, but also have the flexibility for different activities. I'm cautiously optimistic about our future. I know there will always be challenges given our unique family dynamics, but I feel like we're better equipped to handle them now. We're taking it one day at a time and trying to create a family life that works for all of us. Looking back at where we were a year ago, I'm amazed at how far we've come. There have been tough times, heartaches, and moments where I thought it was all falling apart. But there have also been moments of joy, laughter, and love that I wouldn't trade for anything. I don't know what the future holds for us. Phoebe's condition means we'll always have to be prepared for unexpected challenges. And blending families is never easy, even without the added complication of chronic illness. But I'm hopeful. We're all committed to making this work, to supporting each other through the tough times and celebrating the good ones. As I write this, I can hear the kids laughing in the other room. They're playing a board game with Lucas, and even though I know Phoebe will need to take a break soon for her treatments, right now they're just 4 people enjoying each other's company. And maybe that's what it's all about, finding those moments of normalcy and joy amidst the challenges, and holding on to them. It's not the family I imagined for myself when I first became a mother, but it's ours. It's complicated and messy and sometimes really hard, but it's also full of love. And at the end of the day, that's what matters most.